Welcome to What It Knows, the show that explores the art of sneaker culture. I'm your host, Adam Butler, back with another episode. Thank you so kindly for being here. And this week, we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to welcome my man, Mike Sykes, back to the show. That's right, he's the host of Special Delivery over at For the Win, and he's also the author, the creator of Kicks We Wear, the dope newsletter. If you aren't getting that one, you need to get on it real quick, all right? He's joining me today to talk about NBA stars' impact on sneaker culture, okay? Where do the hoopers factor in the sneaker world? Let's jump right into it. Mike, what up?
Yo, what's good?
Welcome back to the show, man. I had to have you on for like this newer version of the show. Last time I had you on, we talked a little bit. We kind of just got to like the basics, but I wanted to run it back with you, brother, because I know you're a big NBA guy. You know what I mean? People that follow you on Twitter know not only are you an NBA guy, you are a Washington Wizards guy. You know all about that squad. You used to be around them. You know about them, and you're a super fan of that team. And I appreciate that because I'm a local guy, and I appreciate people that even though you don't really rock with my football team, but that's okay. Well, that's all right. Well,
I mean, I will say, like the football team, I will root for them unless it's the Eagles. Unless it's the Eagles.
That's like the worst. But I'm with you, though. I'm with you. But we agree on the Wizards, and we'll get into some Wizards talk because one of the Wizards actually has a signature sneaker coming out. But let's just talk about basketball, right? Especially for people that's going to be listening to this show. It's kind of synonymous with sneaker culture, right? You had the MJs of the world, and then, the whole Converse movement in the 80s and things like that.
Right.
Nowadays, it's a little bit different. Now you kind of associate a signature sneaker with like Yeezy. I had Shake on last week. He was talking about how Kanye is the like Jordan of Adidas, and I thought that was really interesting. The Travis Scott thing before the tragedy. Virgil, people like that. Talk to me about like signature sneakers in the NBA, right? Who do you think has the most success? Would you say that right now LeBron has the most like successful signature NBA line, like in a traditional sense?
Yeah, for sure, LeBron. It would definitely be LeBron in terms of sales, hype from like a basketball standpoint, right? Which is like relative because like compared to something like Yeezy, it's minimal, right? But like for a LeBron sneaker, every year people are looking forward to like what Bron's new shoe is going to look like more than they're looking forward to like say a Steph Curry or even a Kevin Durant, right? Who like a lot of people would consider like the closest thing to LeBron as far as like their standing in the league goes. And so I would definitely say LeBron is like the top of the top right now, but I also think that says a lot about the current state of sneakers in the NBA, where like if you compare LeBron's sneaker legacy to Jordan's, like it's not even a conversation. Right? Like it's not even a conversation. And that's the interesting thing about all of that to me is that like you look at like the sneakers of the 90s, right? Like you've got Jordan in his prime, you got Penny coming out. You even look at stuff like not even like the main signature lines, like the Gary Paytons of the world, right?
Yeah,
like
the Grant Hill.
Yeah, the Grand Hills, right? And like you've got really good quality stuff that you don't necessarily see the same amount of these days, even though like there are still a lot of signature athletes in the NBA. So
yeah, and you know what LeBron has is that retro factor, right? KD has that a little bit, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm re-releasing, this one, the Watch the Throne, the South Beach, as far as LeBron goes. You know what I mean? Jordan had that retro factor, so it shows how long Kobe has the. Well, still, right now they're not releasing Kobe's, and that's an interesting piece of it too. But Kobe had that retro factor, which spoke to like, okay, I had this lineage of popular sneakers, so much so that like maybe you're not checking for my newest model, even though I think with LeBron. And maybe Kyrie, people still checking for a newer model of his, but it's like, yo, I want to get those 9s. I want to get those 10s. It's sort of similar to the MJ thing, but it's kind of unfair to compare it to MJ because we've never seen a phenomenon like that before. But I do want to go back to something you said because the NBA is super popular, right? And the players are popular, but does the fact that the sneakers don't sell or move like the popular players, like where's the John Morant, right? Where's the like you said, the Steph Curry. Does that speak to the level of popularity of the player, or are we just at the point where we're separating where it doesn't matter that they don't sell sneakers like that?
Yeah, I think we're kind of in a space, right, where like you kind of separate the player from the sneaker a little bit, right? Which doesn't make a lot of sense because you've got LeBron with the LeBron sneakers, right? Like you've got Kyrie with the Kyrie sneakers, but at the same time, like when they're walking through those tunnels, right, and you see the people like taking pictures of them and recording them or whatever, like they're not wearing LeBron sneakers. They're wearing like Bron would be wearing like some off-whites or something. Right. Like the other day he was in the Union Jordan 4s. Right. And so like I feel like these athletes now, like there's more of a priority in terms of making them like a billboard for Nike for like the most hyped products, right? Like they want to put those products front line and center because at the end of the day, a lot of those products have this sort of halo effect on the rest of the brand, right? Where like people will miss out on the Union 4s and then go and chase something else that might feel a little bit similar.
Right.
You know, and so I think like we're seeing like over the last 5, 6, 7 years, like we've seen that sort of shift where you've got that you know, Kanye, Virgil, Travis era where like you have these dudes ushering in these new hyped sneakers and the athletes are being used to push that as well.
Let me try something out on you, bro, because I might be thinking a little deep on this one, right? We talked about how there's like pages. I follow some of these pages where it's like athletes is like, you know, almost like fashion icons as opposed to, hey, I'm wearing my sneaker and this sneaker works. In the 90s, it was like, this sneaker is cool because it's going to help you run like Dion. It's going to help you, you know, cut like Barry. It's going to help you fly like Mike. It's going to help you lock up. It's called the glove. It's going to help you lock up like Gary Payton. This sneaker is representative of what I do on the court or what I do on the field, or even in some cases, the Ken Griffey. I could move fast. I could track down the baseball, whatever it may be, right? Do you think that we're getting to the point where, well, not do you think we are getting to a point where athletes are saying, I'm more than an athlete? I'm not just representative of this technical skill I have. And do you think that's starting to even show, like in the way they represent themselves in their clothes, that like, I'm not just going to be walking around in this technical, great Nike basketball sneaker like Barkley would walk into the arena with a sweatsuit on, right? You know, now I'm more than that, and I'm even showing that in my appearance.
That's 100% a thing. And I think that kind of was ushered in by the whole David Stern, like Allen Iverson dress code thing, right? Where like you have these players who were showing their personality off of the court through their outfits, and the NBA was like, nah, like y'all can't dress like that. And so like through the years, like you hear players talk about that often. And like LeBron is one of the players who talks about that being this sort of turning point in like NBA fashion history, right? Where you have this place that players were coming from, where like they couldn't wear these clothes that they wanted to, so they had to abide by this dress code, and then they flipped that dress code, turn it into their own thing, and put their personality into it as well. And so I think you're spot on with that, as far as like players sort of putting themselves or opening themselves up and jumping out of that shell of them being just an athlete, right? And wanting to be a little bit more, wanting to do a little bit more. And then I also think, right, is that like the money aspect is there too, where like you've got all these players who have these sponsorships with these fashion brands, with these clothing brands, because a lot of consumers, like these are the people that they idolize, right? Like we live in a culture where celebrity is king, right? Like we treat celebrities like people used to treat, or like royalty back in the day, right? And so like you see these people idolizing LeBron, Kyrie, Steph, whoever it is, right? They want to dress like them too, you know, that they want to have that look, even if they can't afford it necessarily. Like nobody, regular people are not buying $5,000 watches or $10,000 watches. But if you can buy the pair of shoes that LeBron is wearing, right, like that brings you a little bit closer to LeBron, right? And so I think that's also a part of it.
That's very true. You know, that I was talking to somebody about this, and I was saying how, like, you know, there's an athlete out there, and from head to ankle, I can't really mess with them. I can't
Right.
afford that. But from foot up, from foot to ankle, I have that sneaker. A lot of the sneakers that they have, I have, right? But there is a bit of an adverse part of this because these sneakers that retail at a certain price, right? And then LeBron wears it in the tunnel, or PJ wears it in the tunnel, whoever, right? And no hate on them. They enjoy the culture just like we do, but they can get they got access to things. Do you think that helps skyrocket the price on some of these sneakers because PJ has it? You know what I mean? Swaggy P has it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like that's definitely a thing. And it, I kind of hate it. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you because it does, like, I think it's good to see these folks who have made, who are successful, right? Who have made it to the heights that they've made it, continue to sort of ground themselves and root themselves in this culture that we all love, right? But at the same time, like you just said, like that also comes with skyrocketing these prices on these on the resale side, right?
Yeah.
And then even as far as retail, right? Like you've already got these limited supplies of sneakers that come out. This just adds on to that, right? Like that just builds up the hype for these sneakers. And so again, like it's going back to the whole marketing and billboard thing, where like these players, sometimes these celebrities are literally walking billboards for these brands. Like the more you see these players in these things, the harder it is going to be naturally for people to buy the kicks that they love, because the hype train is following that player.
Yeah, I think about it, it's like it's almost counterproductive because they're not really selling the sneaker anymore, right?
Right.
But they are creating the hype around the higher end sneaker. And do you think the brands know Nike, Adidas, Converse, the Converse is, what I'm trying to say, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, brands like this, right? Nike, Adidas in general, in particular, because they're the ones with the big hyped up models, right? Do they know, hey, look, we're going to sell Nike basketball. We're going to sell cross trainers. We're going to sell little Adidas and stuff like that, because the average person is just going to walk into a Foot Locker and say, hey, I need a pair of shoes.
Right.
I need a check. I need some sweatpants. I'm just going to buy it. I don't know what this shoe is. I don't know what it is, but you keep the hype and the mystique of Nike, Adidas around the hypeness by having celebrity A, celebrity B, superstar athlete A, superstar athlete B walk through that tunnel, get that shot. Because again, you and I, we in this world, we know there are Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts dedicated
Absolutely
to WNBA and NBA outfits.
Absolutely.
The league knows this. The brands have
Absolutely.
to know this. You know what I mean? So do you think it's just like, okay, we win regardless? You may not be able to get those, off whites, but you're going to go buy you some Nikes.
Right. Exactly. Like that's exactly what it is, right? Like you couldn't get those Nikes, but here are all the other Nikes that you have, right? Like they always send you those like suggested product emails after you after you were looking at whatever shoe that you didn't get on the sneakers app, right? Because they know that like you want to spend your money. Like when you take that when you don't get the shoe, right? There's still that feeling of emptiness, right? Like there's like a void that you need to fill that like Nike knows and that they're like preying on. Really, it's like, all right, like I didn't get these, but I can still go buy this, right? Like this is still available to me. And then to your point about the basketball sneakers, right? Like people, it's really weird, right? Because like I feel like we're at a point in with basketball sneakers where the technology is so good, and the specifications are so down to the T that like you can literally go buy any brand shoe and it'll be top notch. Like you'll find something that fits you perfectly for whatever activity it is that you're about to do, whether it's like basketball, tennis, football, whatever it is. But at the same time, I also feel like a lot of those shoes and a lot of that technology kind of makes the shoe unwearable at times for the regular person, just generally being out and about, right? Because like it is tailor-made specifically for this athlete for this specific purpose, right? And so I think that sort of pushes people away from basketball sneakers in particular. But I also think, to your point, like when you're looking for a basketball shoe, a lot of people who aren't like nerdy about this stuff like you and me will just literally walk into the Foot Locker, be like, yo, the latest basketball sneaker is here. Oh, okay, I'll get that. Like, oh, this is the latest LeBron shoe. I'll buy that. And they'll just do it. And that's how they make money off of that. And that's why they keep those lines going. But I also feel like there's a little bit of a hindrance in terms of the overall quality and longevity of these sneakers outside of that sport because of that. I guess if that makes any sense.
No, it does make sense, and it makes it because again, what number of Jordan were you on? 36 or
36?
Yeah, 36. So like the 36, right, is a great technical basketball shoe, and I'm pretty sure if you're an AAU basketball coach or run an AAU program, you want to go ahead and get a bunch of 36s for your squad. You might even better get Jordan Brand if you're good enough to sponsor your squad. They're sponsoring college teams, you know what I mean? So the technical basketball shoe, I'm pretty sure the Curry and the stuff Under Armour is doing is so technically sound that like you'll never break your ankle again playing ball, right? Like you can run fast. All this stuff is great. So that's still there. And and that's just basketball shoes. We're not even talking about like tennis, football, things like that, right?
Right.
But there's also this idea of like, it's this question, it's like a chicken and egg. Like, what really drives Nike sports brands? And is it the sneaker head? Is it the athlete, or is it just the casual customer that say, hey, I just want a nice, comfortable pair of shoes, or hey, I need to go running and I need a pair of shoes to just go running in? You know what I mean? I'm not sure you know the answer to that question, but it's just something that I think about. Like, does the sneakerhead still matter? Not in this culture. The culture is going to, we dictate whether the culture survives, but does the sneakerhead matter to the brands?
Right. Yeah, that is something that I think about very often, and like the way that I kind of see it and the way that I've settled on it for now, because like I feel like my thinking on this changes all the time as like I experience different things and see different things and like see different strategies. But like to me, like the thing that matters most to these brands is their bottom line, right? But like the thing about Nike is that it's a shoe manufacturer and distributor, but it's also one of the greatest marketing companies in the world, right? And so as a marketing company, I feel like today marketing has changed from like having your commercial come on TV or having this billboard plastered all over a specific city to like just kind of online hearsay, right? Like where you'll see like different Twitter ads, different Instagram ads. You'll see, like you were saying, the Explore page is filled up with whatever sneaker you were just Googling on it, right? Because that's just how cookies work. But like you see that, right? And you've got this very passionate and fever pitched fan base every single Saturday that is trying to buy a very specific shoe from your sneakers app, and they don't get it. But like regardless, those people are going to make noise, and that noise reverberates around the internet, reverberates around the different social platforms that you see, whether it's through people sharing that they caught the L or they caught the dub on Twitter, or doing the same thing on their Instagram story, or a YouTuber talking about their experience on the sneakers app on YouTube, or somebody taking that to Facebook. Like all of that stuff matters, right? And so I think the sneakerhead, we absolutely matter tonight. Like we might not be the money maker for all these companies necessarily, but do we matter? Absolutely, because at the end of the day, like these are the people that drive these products. These are the people that push this culture to what it is now, in terms of it being one of the biggest mainstream industries out there from what it was even 10, 15 years ago. Right. And so yeah, we absolutely matter in this. And I feel like a lot of times we don't even realize like how much power we actually have in this, because like a lot of times if you just don't get on the app and you don't go and take the L and share the L, then like the company has to come to you and give you something for that. Like if everybody chose to not share their L's or whatever it is, right? Or not go for sneaker X on Saturday. Like how would Nike or Adidas or whoever react to that, right? Like I still want to know the answer to that. I don't think we ever will, but I think that's a fascinating case study.
It is a fascinating case study, and you know, as you talk, I'm just thinking like that. You're making a great point, because I think sneakerheads, when we bring up the NBA and NBA players, they still are representative of what's going on in sneaker culture. Again, in the 90s and the 80s, you know, in the 80s is probably a little bit more about style, and the 90s is more about, hey, be like me, wear the sneaker, it will do. Now it's like, hey, we're all art collectors now. You wear these things, sure, you get them and you wear them, but you get guys like, again, I keep bringing up PJ Tucker, because PJ will come out and warm up in a pair of $30,000 sneakers. Like, for my listeners, I don't know if y'all know, this dude is coming out and warming up in $30,000 sneakers, right? And barely warming up in them, kind of tiptoeing around them, a jumper or two.
I'm waiting for the day that PJ wears an old jump and then the sole just
falls apart. I swear, this dude is coming out doing a little bit of nothing just to get the flick on, right? And then coming out and playing in a pair of, you know, whatever, you know, he's with Nike, so like just a pair of Nike whatevers, you know what I'm saying? It's just like a technically sound sneaker. So again, and they're all there are sites dedicated to them just walking through the tunnel. You know, it's not just Russell Westbrook anymore, it's all of them, and they all treat it as if they're walking on a runway. So they're saying it like, hey, we're art collectors, and they're wearing it. Some of them are wearing, you know, regular, you know, like dress shoes or boots or whatever, but a lot of them are wearing high fashion with a pair of very expensive sneakers. Or if the sneaker isn't that expensive, they just made it expensive because they walked through the tunnel in it. So now I think that's where we all have to look at it, that these athletes are still the trendsetters. They're still the people that set the trends, and I think that's a great thing. I think that's a really powerful thing for an athlete to be able to do. But we have to look at it like that too. Is like, they're sneakerheads too. They matter, therefore we matter.
Right.
We just create the hype around the thing. The thing that's frustrating is that sometimes we don't always reap the benefits of the hype.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you're waiting for the brand to be like thank you, like thank you for making this product big, right? And I just don't know if we'll ever get that. I don't know if we'll ever get that.
I don't think so either, brother. I don't think so either, because it's almost like, why would they? And but for us, like nerdy people, when we get nerdy about it, it's like, yeah, it gets annoying just being able to see super rich athlete A or super rich athlete B just rocking a shoe, and you being like, even though we just got finished saying a lot of those we have, but that's because we are nerds about it, and we're willing to make that, you know, sacrifice. The average person is not. They're just like, hey, I want to get that shoe, but then that takes you down the rabbit hole of reps and all that, and we ain't gonna go there. Right? We're not gonna get into all that right now. One day we'll do a rep show, but right now we're not. So no, I think it's really interesting. But do you think there's an opportunity there? I brought up Rui earlier, right? And his signature sneaker. And I was kind of surprised that Rui got a signature J. You know, that was interesting to me. But then I thought about the lineage and, you know, the culture piece of it and this, that, and another. But let's just be real. Love Rui. But Rui is not A-tier NBA player, right? He's working towards that. Rui, I can never pronounce his last name for him, bro. Hachimura. For the Washington Wizards, you know, he has a signature sneaker coming out. Is there an opportunity to work with, you know, the Kyle Kuzmas of the world, the Ruiz of the world, you know, these guys that are good players and will wear their nice hyped up sneaker on the court because they don't get that opportunity, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like the Rui example is a really good one, because like I feel like I feel like Jordan Brand is in a place where like they're kind of transitioning with their athletes, right? Like you've got Russell Westbrook, obviously, who was the biggest name on the brand for a minute, and then it's like outside of him, it's like Jimmy Butler, like
right. D Wade was there for a minute.
Yeah, D Wade was there. Blake Griffin. It's like that whole class of dudes just wasn't really like doing it that well, right? And part of that is because I feel like we were just talking about MJ and how iconic his signature line is. Like it's really hard to put a signature line out when you under Michael Jordan's brand, when Michael Jordan's brand still exists and is like still really hunkered down in that Jordan signature line.
Right.
right? And so like I feel like with the Rui example, like you got him getting this it's a Jordan 8, right? Where like it's a specific color specific to his heritage and telling his story about coming up in Japan and being this sort of multicultural athlete who is now in the NBA with a very specific viewpoint and life story, right? And I feel like the shoe is built to tell that, and I think that is the right way to go, honestly, with shoes, right? Like you don't necessarily always need the different model, right? Like if there's already something that works, then why not just take that thing that works and enhance it a little bit, tweak it a little bit, right? Like that's kind of what Virgil taught us, right? Where like he takes the Chicago one and adds his prints to it, or whatever adds his shoelaces and does the different stuff, and it's a hit, right? So like you don't have to do too much to make a great product, and I feel like this Rui example, some of the PEs that Jason Tatum has gotten, some of the stuff that we've seen Luka Doncic wear, like they tell specific stories about these players, and the fans of those players are going to eat that up. Right, like this Rui shoe, like my little brother who's 18 years old was asking me about it yesterday. Like, yo, when is this coming? Like, I want to support Rui. I want to tell his story to my friend. Like, I want people to ask me about this shoe. I'm like, oh wow, that's really dope. Like, I didn't really know that that this shoe had really struck a chord with him like that, right? But like that was an example of how just taking a silhouette and tweaking it a little bit and making it this player's own might be a little bit better or more beneficial than just giving the player a full-blown signature shoe. And you talked about Kyle Kuzma, like Puma actually did that with Kuz.
They did
with the who was it, like it was a Clyde.
Yeah, I think a couple of guys got that Clyde too. I think Puma has really tried it with, and with Jay-Z being there and being so involved. Puma's really tried to take some of those up and coming guys and really give them signatures. Yeah, I can't remember the model of the Puma, but yeah, they did. It
was like an all-pro high or something like that. Yeah. And they had him do a collab with Rude on it. And it was like, yo, like this. It's Kyle Kuzma, right? Like he's a kind of popular basketball player, but probably not popular enough for a signature shoe like a full-blown joint. Right. So like if you get Kuz and you put him in a room with a fashion designer and allow them to create something, like you can put out something really cool. And it's like a heavy lift as a whole signature shoe campaign. Like you do this one time only, and you just give the people something cool. Right. Like I think that's dope.
I think that I was just about to say, I think that's a really good idea because, I think, again, I keep going back to the 90s and it was just this wealth of everyone has their own shoe and their own, we have to design a shoe specific. And not everything worked in the 90s. Sometimes I think there's nostalgia. We like to say, man, everybody had their own single shoe and everything was cool. There was a couple of nasty bricks in the 90s and early 2000s. Some really terrible, nasty bricks. My boy Weber, who was one of my favorite players of all time, had a couple of bad, nasty, ugly bricks. Kobe had ugly bricks in the beginning.
Kobe for sure.
For sure. That Adidas run was nasty. Okay.
It was bad. It was
bad. Okay. So it happened. So I think that when you look at the 80s though, and they were giving Bird and Magic and like these guys like the same shoe, just in different colors. And they were saying, this is the shoe. This is representative of NBA players. The Magic one is yellow and gold. You know what I mean? It's for Lakers. The Bird one is green. You can do that, especially if you're Jordan brand. And if you're some of these bigger brands, Nike, Adidas, and you're saying, hey, we have a shoe that's popular. The Jordan run 1 through 15 is super popular, right? Let's just give these guys this version of that one, as opposed to saying, let's create something that's just not going to work out, because again, you have to have some really high fashion minds. And again, what's working is versions of the older sneaker. That's what's working. The only person that's really coming up with brand new, and this is what Shake talked about last week, is Yeezy.
Yeah, that's it. That's really it. That's and like that's kind of disappointing to me. Like because I feel like there's so much there's so much room to grow and to make good stuff that's not overly complicated and doesn't push people away. And like I think like Kanye's stuff is like, Kanye has good stuff, but Kanye always goes like over the top to me sometimes. And so I'm like, this is not for me, but it's also different, and I can appreciate that, right? Like I can appreciate the ingenuity behind it. But like when you just continue to give me the same thing over and over and over again, it's like, it's fine, it's good. I'ma like it because this is what I like. But I also would like to see something new at some point.
Yeah, I agree. Before I get to my last question to you, is one I know you're gonna like. Just one quick comment. I think that, and I'm gonna put this out as a clip. Okay. I think that there may be a moment for a revolution, right? Because there's so much Nike basketball and, you know, in Air Max and things like that out there. I am an advocate for GRs. You know, GRs are difficult to get now, right? And general releases for the people that don't know that. Right. People can decide what's hot. Like you can decide that. Like if there are Kyrie sitting, or there are, you know, whoever, Puma, you know, all these things just sitting, like you can rock those and you can decide. So if there's a moment right now where people are saying, I can't get my hands on anything and I'm upset about this, why not just change the game yourself and start rocking that stuff? I think there's a moment for a little bit of a sneaker revolution to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna rock these Rui's. I'm gonna rock these Kyle Kuzmas. I'm gonna rock this stuff because it looks good, and I can't afford the Travis Scotts or the whatever's. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do me.
Yeah, man. I 1000%. Honestly, I actually just wrote about it the other day in the newsletter. Like one of the things that I'm looking forward to in 2022 is seeing more good GRs, man. Because like, well, I'm tired of seeing all the X's from the collabs. Like I'm over that. Like it's
old,
just,
man.
It's too much. It's old. I'm done with it. But also, like, I feel like as a consumer, as somebody who puts my money into these brands, puts my money into these sneakers, like I should control the narrative behind these sneakers, right? Like this is the world that we have created. Like the brands did not create this. We gave them this power.
Right.
We should have some of that power. Yeah. And to me, like that power comes through the GRs that we choose and the things that we decide that we like, not what they tell us is hot. Like, all right, like cool, those Travises are great. But like, also, what's wrong with like me buying just a regular run of the Air Max 1? Or maybe I like the Air Max Pre-Day from last year. So like, why don't I just rock that instead in a cool colorway? Or how about the Ishod Wear SBs that just came out instead of a pair of Dunks, right? Like those are pretty fire if y'all would just take a look at them. You know what I mean? So it's just like you really gotta just be out here and buy what you like instead of buying what you see on the Instagram page, because at the end of the day, like you got to live with that purchase. And if you paying, you know, $500 for this SB instead of this $100 for the Ishod joints, like I don't really know. Like I personally can't live with myself.
I can't fully trust you.
Right. Exactly. All
right. Quick question for you before I let you go, brother. And again, thank you so much for doing this, man. Quick NBA question. Absolutely. It's actually a two-parter. Okay. Do the Wizards make it to the NBA playoffs? Do the Lakers make it to the NBA playoffs this year?
I'm going to say yes to both. I'm more confident in the Lakers making it to the playoffs than I am the Wizards, but I also feel like the Wizards, like to me, they are probably in that like playing range, right? So like you'll get them from that like that 7 to 10, that 6 to 10 slot, right? And so like if you can get in there, it's kind of a crapshoot because you might have to play Boston, you might have to play Atlanta. And so like if you give Jason Tatum one game, you give Trae Young one game, you never know what can happen. But like you got a solid team. Like Brad Beal, as much crap as we have given him this season, like Brad Beal is still a pretty good player. You give him one game, you don't know what can happen. Wizards, I really like Wes Unseld Jr. as a head coach. Like he's a really good head coach. I think that they have a squad there somewhere. They just gotta find it. But with the Lakers, man, like it's Bron, it's AD, it's Russ. Like I don't think Russ is the same Russ that we're used to.
Right.
But like still, I feel like they'll probably put together enough to make the playoffs pretty comfortably. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, we're gonna have you back on around playoff time. We'll have you on before they do, but around playoff time, if you're willing, and we'll have this conversation because I have thoughts about the Lakers. I don't like that team at all, but
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. But I feel like the West a little bit weaker this year.
I feel you. And if you got that many superstars, if they need to put the five or six games, they can get themselves in there. So yeah. Brother, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you doing this. Come and talking some basketball and sneakers with me, man. Let's do it again.
Absolutely, man.
All right, shout outs to Mike for rejoining the show, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to him. And big shout outs to all of you for always tuning in and supporting this show, man. We definitely see you and we definitely appreciate you guys. Remember to continue to follow the team. That's right, follow the team, the On My Feet app. Go and download that, the On My Feet app. Follow us on My Feet app, at On My Feet app, and at On My Feet Network. And remember to follow the Up on Game Network as well. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, remember to mind your mental health and please, please, please continue to be great. I'm up out of here.